Well, good afternoon, gentlemen. Glad you're on the call today. Welcome to the 17th edition of the Heart of the Coach. My name is Brian McKenzie. I have the privilege to serve with Fellowship of Christian Athletes as Director of Football in the Midwest region and beyond. And we're so glad to have all of you on the call, especially glad to have our guest coach today, who's Jed Stugart, who's the head coach at Lindenwood University, which is in St. Louis, Missouri. Welcome to the call, Coach Stugart.
Thanks, Brian. Great being here.
Yeah, well, good to have you. We've just connected really over the COVID stuff through some Bible study stuff and some mutual friends. So thankful that you could jump on here and answer some questions, hopefully be an encouragement to all the coaches on the call. Well, since you've been out of your normal routine here, obviously with everything going on, what's some things you and your family have been able to enjoy that you probably wouldn't normally be able to enjoy during this time?
Well, yeah, we're trying to, we've found a lot of silver linings in this, and especially from a family standpoint. I mean, having both our kids here, Gunnar just got back, my son just graduated, and he actually stayed at school for a little till they graduated. He was at an academy where they could stay, so having him back. So we have played a lot of board games, a lot of Yahtzee, a lot of Farkle. We played and I have rebounded basketballs for my daughter like you can't believe it. You can't believe how many rebounds I've had, and I'm shagging a lot of golf balls for my son. And so we've had a lot of fun doing those things. And I have had a few projects around the house that Angie's been waiting to have done. So I've been able to get that done.
Great. Well, they thought all this Last Dance, they thought Dennis Rodman could rebound. They hadn't seen you rebound, huh?
I'm telling you, she's put me on I've rebounded more basketballs than you can imagine. So it's right. I don't know if I can jump quite as high, but I'll fight for it.
That's great. One of the greatest football games you've been a part of, what would that be and why?
Well, as far as just the game goes, and a lot of fun, even this year we had 3 of them. But we had a game against Truman State this year against a really well coached Coach Nesbitt team at Truman State. Great throw to win with about 3 or 4 seconds left. And the reason why that was so special is because of how our season 2 or 3 come from behind wins to win an overtime win, to keep our playoff hopes alive and go in. Our first win, Tremaine referenced it a few weeks ago. First time we won the Northern Sun Conference up in Sioux Falls, beating Mankato. That was a team that was really a nemesis for us, and it was a team we really set a bar for, and to see them get over the top and win and win pretty good, and to finish out our time there at Sioux Falls. I think I thought about this. I think the most impactful, when you look at what God when we lost the championship game up against Carroll in 2010, it was a tough loss. But long story short, because God really, I was frustrated. I remember I felt like we were doing everything right. We were coaching biblically. We were coaching at first I got it on the bus after that, lose by 3, and everything changed in my career and my perspective from that moment on. I was a little frustrated. I said, God, we're trying to do everything you want us to do. And I got a little selfish, and I said, I just feel like we should have come on the other end. And there's 2 different transactional and transformational. And I felt like we were in that situation that we should have won. And I didn't understand until about 3 or 4 days later. We had a kid come on a visit, and he said he was looking at 2 programs that he narrowed down to us that we played. And I thought, well, we're going to lose him because you want to go to the team that won the national championship. And his dad told me, he said, Coach, during that game, my son and I sat there and watched the game, and I noticed every time something bad would happen in a game, I watched your coaching staff and how they coached your player. And I watched how the others on the other side coached their players. And I want my son to come play for a staff that's going to love their players through adversity and things like that. And at that moment, I knew it's really, yeah, we're human. We want to win, but that changed my whole coaching career because it answered the question that the Bible says in our weakness, God is made stronger. And so, yes, we want to win national championships, but that.
Well, great. You're talking about perspective and purpose and those kind of things. Jed, why do you coach? What's your purpose? What's your transformational purpose statement? What's your why?
Yeah, our staff did a little study on this one time. We wrote a book and read a book, and we kind of analyzed it, and that was the question. That's why in our hot seats with our team, we ask that question all the time because that's been a focal point. Mine is, I'd say Ephesians 4:29. I think that's, to wrap it up in a verse, it's it's one of our pillars to our staff, and that's Ephesians 4:29 is, don't let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouth, but only that would benefit those who listen. And that's the ultimate coaching verse to me, that, not just when things are good, but the Bible, that verse doesn't say, hey, just, watch what you say in good times. It says, watch what you say in bad times. So I think why I coach now is based on that, what the story I just told about the kid that came to Sioux Falls because of what he saw and what his dad saw. And that is, hopefully at the end of the day, when they graduate and they get through some adversity and things like that in their life, that they know they watched us as a staff and how we handled it, and that Christ was a priority in our program, the way we treated our wives, our families, being at practice all the time, all those things. And the cherry on top's going and winning games. And when teams come together like that and they see the priorities anyway, and they're playing for each other and for the love for each other, the wins take care of themselves too. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. We got to win and want to win as coaches. There's no doubt. I'm not a very fun loser, but a good loser. But,
I don't think anybody this all is, right? Yeah.
Right.
Well, how do you want your personal relationship with Jesus Christ to practically impact your players at Lindenwood?
Well, I think, I use the word adversity a lot, because that's in the course of a game, that's what we see a lot. There's highs, there's lows. I was telling my players when we go outside, hey, we're never going to play a perfect game. You hear that sometimes in the talk. We got to go out and play perfect to beat these teams. It's impossible. We're human. It's how we handle adversity through that. And so I think everything starts with how we conduct our practices, our meetings, and how our team sees us handle adversity at practice. So if things aren't going great in practice and we're losing our minds and our composure, and then we get in games and they're losing their mind and their composure, guess what? We're probably modeling that behavior to them, but how we handle. So we say, what's important now all the time? You make a mistake in practice, it's on to the next play. I mean, it's like, how are you going to overcome that? So that all stems from, a personal relationship with Christ, that you have to grow, and you have to grow in that because we're human. We're going to get mad at when things happen. We're going to get mad. That's our human nature. We're going to say things we're not supposed to say. And unless we're in the Word and understanding the why, to your question before, that it's a ministry and that we're showing our players on a daily basis. It's, the Francis of Assisi statement, preach the gospel. And if you have to use words, I think that applies in coaching without a doubt.
That's great. That could be with our lives and with our lips, right? And they go together. Yeah.
Amen.
Well, Coach, name a couple of the most influential coaches that have been in your life and tell us why they were so influential.
Well, I love my time. I got a chance to coach a year with Coach Sanford at UNLV, just his heart, just a great man, great Christian man. So his friendship and that experience was great for me. Probably an interest. I've had so many great coaches that I've enjoyed. I would say I didn't get to coach with this guy, but I remember when Ron Brown came up to speak with us at Sioux Falls, he came over and spoke at our champions dinner. So I got to spend about 2 days with him and him with our staff. But Coach Brown had a huge impact on our staff, just his heart. And I didn't get to coach with him, but probably a different answer you might get. It's funny because you've asked a couple of coaches this question, and I thought, it's amazing with all the great coaches I've been able to coach with. my high school coach and another coach along the way in my career probably impacted me, but probably not in a real positive light, Brian. And it made me understand I heard a comment one time from this coach. I'll never forget it. It said, kid made a bad play in the game when he lost the game because of that play. And the statement said, you're probably going to be the reason I can't buy my kids Christmas presents this year. And I'll never forget, that never left me. I thought, no, it's us. We haven't put these kids in position to win. We haven't done these things. You have to be respectful. I'm working for somebody. I'm not mentioning names because nobody needs to try to figure it out, because I've 20 years in coaching. I've coached with a lot. But point is it made me realize how powerful. I saw the look on that kid's face. I saw his head go down. And when Billy Graham said that, like you said the other day, a coach can affect more people in a year than the average person does in a lifetime. Our words are powerful. And I always say this to my coaches, to me, remind me and everything. Kids will hang on every word you say, so give them something worth hanging on to. And I think that's so bunch of positives, but even a negative one down the road of just everything was I almost wondered why he was in coaching, if you're not doing it for the love of these players. So that's a great reminder how powerful words can be. I just remember the face of that kid.
Yeah, words are powerful. I've mentioned this a couple of times too, because so many coaches have said that. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue," and it's so true, and especially with a coach, because the kids are hanging on every word we have to say. That's great. Well, Coach, as a head coach, what are you doing to provide an opportunity for every player on your team to be exposed to the gospel?
Well, we don't shy away from it. I mean, we're at a secular university, but we're private though. We can probably get away with some things possibly that others can't. But I know enough faces on this I see on here of guys that I know personally that are kind of have the same model. They're going to do what they do. Number one, weekly we have in our team meeting or our chapel. We always kind of start off with a chapel leadership component to our Monday meetings. In spring, we do a lot of stuff, but in the regular season or in fall camp, our team meetings, we don't even talk much football. It's all about leadership. It's all about biblical principles of leadership and those things, and it's usually team building type stuff. So we do that all the time, and then we have really got some great leadership this year too. We do a huddle right on Thursdays, right after practice. It's a player-led huddle that they just go to the corner of the football field and do it right there. So nobody can, it's hard to go shower and go eat and then go somewhere. Well, sometimes you lose kids on that deal. And so that thing's really grown, because right after Thursday's practice, they go to the corner of the football field and do their huddle. And for about 10, 15 minutes since player-led, it's been growing. It's been kind of fun to see.
That's great. And I love it, because at least you're giving them the opportunity. Right there, they're seeing it in what you're saying and what you're doing throughout the week, but also there's an opportunity to really go maybe ask some more questions when you have a huddle right there with this player led. That's great, because now you are exposing. And I ask that question because a lot of coaches how in maybe a secular university can I make sure that my kids are being exposed to the gospel? That's at least an opportunity, and I appreciate that.
Right.
Well,
right.
What do you do? I mean, we were talking about earlier about growing in your relationship with Christ, because that growth in your relationship will show up in the way that you coach, and the way that you live your life, the way that you father, the way that you live as a husband. What do you do practically to foster your relationship with the Lord? Well,
personally, I try to do, which I fail at a lot. You try to do a daily in the Word. I'm probably in the Word daily, just through a verse and things. But I'm talking about trying to, especially during this time, I've been trying to do more of a daily devotion of trying to I noticed one thing. I kept seeing all these unsung heroes in the Bible. You talk about like Joseph, and trying to find every story, trying to find the unsung hero and how that impacted that story. So I've been kind of doing a new challenge of finding out, what are those people that are behind the scenes and how it impacted the story or God's kingdom. It's a very we prioritize. I think it's important if we're going to be Christian coaches that are coaching biblically. We have to model that. We have to present opportunities for our staff. So we have a weekly staff Bible study. Some of them are probably on this call that you might say, "Hey, coach, behind the scenes, does he make you do that?" I don't really make them do that. We just do it. We have a good time. It's led. I have a chaplain, Mike Hansen, who's our team chaplain or our staff chaplain that's been with us, every week. And it's a great time to share. So I think number one, I think that helps all of us too, because, with men especially, I think we enjoy this. We enjoy the talking together about God's word. So and then, again, your players are walking by your office every once in a while, peeking their head around the corner and seeing that you're in a staff Bible study. That's another opportunity to show, hey, God's priority in this program, and so, it's funny, kids will ask you that later, it presents opportunities to say, "Hey, coach, why do you guys do that?" Or "What are you doing in there?" That kind of thing. It's good.
Yeah, that's great, Coach. Well, you've been at this for over 20 years now. All right. I mean, you probably started when you were 5. Okay. So
yeah, exactly.
Still young. All right. So what's something you wish you'd known as a young coach that you know now that you might be able to help a current young coach with?
I don't know. Call and ask Tremaine. He calls me all the time. I'm telling him all my, I'm telling him all the mistakes I made, and he's a lot smarter and better looking than I am, so he won't make the same mistakes. But no, I'd say that in jest, but man, I'll use that as an example. Tremaine and I talk a lot, and he'll call me and say, "Coach, what about this and everything?" And I did the same thing. I think I didn't do it to a certain degree my first go around, is just call more, find out. Man, there's great wisdom. The Bible talks about putting wise people around you, wise, godly people around you. I think you guys got to remember that there's a lot of wisdom out there, but there's a lot of ungodly wisdom out there. So I think for me personally, we have to be a light to the world. We got to have non-Christians around us. Yes, that's life. I think in leadership, where it says, "Do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers," is in a leadership model, because we're all on a common goal. So I think looking back, I look at my very first year, and here's the other thing. Looking back, the more I've gotten older, the more, yes, we've been blessed with a lot of success. I think once we figured out that it was love and the principle, the model that we were coaching, transformational coaching, 3-dimensional coaching, was the reason why we won, not because of how many hours we were in the office. And so we used to joke a lot. We used to have teams up in our old conference, they'd tweet out how long they're in the office during the week. And we'd be texting each other from home going, "Hey, look, somebody's trying to outcoach," we kind of joke, meaning that doesn't matter. And I think when you're young, when you're thinking that you're coming up through coaching and you've been with grinders all the time, you think, well, geez, we got to grind. And I think, number one, I have a responsibility. I've got a bunch of coaches now that got little ones. They're newly married. They got babies. They got, I'm going to be held accountable in their lives. God's given me an opportunity to coach these guys, to lead them. And I'm not going to take away opportunities for these guys to watch their kids grow up, especially with all this technology and the work that you can get done without having to do all that. So if you're a young new head coach, I would love to share the mistakes. I'll give you my cell phone number at the end of this call. You can call me. Tremaine's just getting started as a new head coach. He's on it. There's a bunch of these guys. Avant Mitchell, who I've gotten to know real well, he's starting off as a new head coach. That these guys got their stuff on straight. So, it's priorities. It's that quality time, not the quantity time. That's not a cliche. It works.
Yeah.
Remember this, nothing's going to change until they put 12 guys on the field. So we think we can watch people all the time. It's be effective in what you're doing. And let your coaches get home to their families.
Love it, Coach. Well, hey, I'm gonna throw a football question out here, and since Tremaine's on here, this kind of
Oh, here we go again.
That's your shot here. So next year you're going to go undefeated all season. You're going to make it to the D2 National Championship. You're going to be playing Colorado Mesa. You have the ball on their 10-yard line. You're down by 4 with 5 seconds to play. So what play are you running to get past Coach Jackson's defense?
I don't know. You got to ask Kavorka. He's my old coordinator. I'm not a micromanager. No, I'm kidding. Well, I can tell you this. Tremaine's bringing heat, and I can tell you that. So we're going to I'm going to try to get my All-American Eric Hinneman another year, and we're going to throw a back shoulder fade in the corner of the end zone that he might even concede might be tough to catch, defend. But I know heat's coming, so we're going to – I really like my quarterback, and he's a baller. So, but I know heat's coming, and they're going to be well coached and disciplined. And however it ends, we're going to give each other a big old hug at the end of the game because we're doing it for the right purposes. Ain't that right, TJ?
All right, well, great. Well, hey guys, we got a little more time here. I got some more questions, but I always want to give you all, if we have a chance, to ask Coach Stugart questions. So, if you got a question, just unmute your mic and fire away. I got a question. Somebody's got a chat going here. What do you want from your assistant coaches? This is from Kirby Oaks. He put in the chat. So what do you want from your assistant coaches?
Well, I want them to be empowered to do their job. We're going to hire guys to do their job. And if people that have been with me or coached with me know that I don't try to do their job for them. So I'm going to, I want them, number one, to love their players. We are going to make mistakes. When I say that, I just have, one thing, praise loudly, criticize softly, and talk about what's important now, because we're going to, and here's the deal, we're going to make mistakes. I want our guys to always remember that our kids know we're going to make mistakes. And the moment we can admit that we make mistakes on a practice field or in a game, we empower ourselves even more. The kids see that we're human and that we care about them. And so I just want, I want our coaches love their players to be the number one priority. And really, if they're married and they got kids, I want that to be the number one priority, is to love their families first and be a godly role model to the players that you coach. So all these guys, I got a bunch of coaches on here. I just wish you could see they have their players in their houses all the time. They're doing those things, modeling that. And so, like I said, I'm going to say we a lot, because we've had a lot of fun. We've had some success, but I feel like we hold each other accountable, and we're really trying to do it the way God wants to. And so that's what I would say is let your coaches coach and trust them.
Good. Any other questions?
Yes, sir. I got one. Great to meet you, Coach. Rafael Aguilar here, graduate assistant offensive line, Washington State. Question for you is, what have you noticed as far as cohesion and team building that you've noticed within your staff, leading with God, and how that has impacted you guys in your leadership? Has that helped? Has that brought you guys closer? Just touch on that for me.
Yeah, I will tell you, I think that's I think that is huge, Coach. When your football team sees that your staff is very close and that you guys that your staff loves each other, when your offense and defensive guys are best friends too, and they hang out together all the time, and we're at each other's houses and at our kids' functions. Our kids pay attention to that. I remember one place I was at early in my career. I was walking out to the parking lot after practice, and I was the D coordinator at the time, and we'd always go home after practice, come in the mornings to get work done. And I remember this guy said, Coach, I don't understand. Some of the coaches that stay here till 11 o'clock at night, they always talk about family, but they never go home to their families. Again, another from the mouth of babes that is they pick up more than you think. So staff cohesion and loving each other and modeling that. And that's, in other words, if you come to one of our practices, it's very intense and energetic, and there's a lot of competition. But you will not see offense and defensive coaches going at each other. I don't buy into this. Well, we got to show our kids. We have some very competitive practices, but we show respect to one another out there on the field, and that's why I think our kids we did not end our season well. We ended our season in the second round playoff game against the juggernaut at Northwest Missouri, and we did not play well, and it did not end well. But probably the greatest thing that somebody from Northwest Missouri told me walking out said, at the end of that game, in the last quarter, nothing got cheap. He made a comment, said, I didn't see your kids lashing out, cheap fouls and things like that. And I think it hit me a little bit because you get on the bus disappointed and you go, okay, that's something, Lord. Thank you for that, because I think we're modeling that as a staff at practice and things. So I think that's huge, very huge.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Got time for one more question. One more question. All right, well, I'll ask a question then here, Coach. So, in your coaching career, all right, there's ups and downs, there's challenges. So, what's one of the biggest challenges you face as a coach, and how did your relationship with Christ help you navigate through that challenge?
Well, I think probably my last. I just finished my third year as a head coach, and things were going really well, and I got a phone call to go to UNLV and coach linebackers, and so I took that job. And I was working with a great man and Coach Mike Sanford. Everything looked good and everything, and then the AD that hired Mike and that I asked, is Mike going to be all right? Because he was UNLV was going the right direction without a doubt. Never went backwards, kept getting better and better. So I thought, okay, long story short, new AD comes in, and we're fired after 1 year. So all of a sudden, I go from a head coaching job to I don't have a job, and I can't even get. And my wife, who occasionally when I start panicking, Angie says, "Have you thought about praying lately?" I went, "Oh yeah, let me start praying." So to have a great godly wife in your life, but I started praying. Next thing you know, I'm at Central Missouri for about 3 weeks as a D coordinator. Jim Sabota, great friend, hired me, and then all of a sudden this call came from Sioux Falls. Mike Sanford kept apologizing to me, Brian, saying, I didn't know if this was going to happen. I said, Coach, you and I both know God's in control, and there's a reason. We don't know what that is, so stop apologizing. I'm so glad we came out, and we'll figure it out. Long story short, Sioux Falls offered me the job because they had about 4 boxes they wanted to check. They wanted somebody that went through a transition like I did at Northern Colorado when we were in Division II and they started moving up to 1AA. They wanted somebody that had been a head coach before. But I guess, and then the other one was they wanted somebody that had D1 experience. And I called Coach Sanford right away. If I would not have went to UNLV for that year, I wouldn't have checked that box. So, I said, again, yes, it's scary, and we've all, I've gone through that twice, been part of the staff that's been fired twice. And like Brian Applewhite, my good friend that we coached together at Northern Colorado, says, he says, Stugart's the only guy that gets fired twice and gets 2 head coaching jobs out of it. And that is, and it's funny because and he goes, yeah, I know you're going to tell me it's the Lord. And you know what? We know it is, because we're human. There's no way that happens, and there's no way I'm smart enough to talk my way out of that. It's God saying, hey, you're going into this plan for a reason. So that was it was scary, but God answered, and you look back and it made sense. So
praise God. That's great. Well, Jed, I really appreciate your time on the call today, and so much just sharing your heart, and so it's called the Heart of the Coach, and really, really appreciate you being on today, brother.
Brian, thank you for what you're doing. I see these this has created relationships that I've made with some guys on these Bible studies and your Heart of the Coach. That, man, it's been great what you're doing and your leadership, and we're just grateful that you're doing it. So I will, if you guys got a pen pen handy, I'll give you my cell phone number if you guys want to text me or email. 605-595-8061. And Brian's got that as well. So if you missed it or something, email him. He'll get it to you. And love to hear what you guys are doing in your programs too. So God bless y'all. Thanks again.
I'll call you later on.
Can't wait.
He changed his number, Tremaine, so you wouldn't call it. Then he'd give it to you again. I'm kidding you.
Oh, he'll find it, and I'll let him.
Well, guys, great to have you on. We'll let you know we're not doing anything this Friday or next Monday. You guys have a great long weekend, hopefully, here. And then next Wednesday, we have Coach Turner Gill. And if you've never got a chance to hear from Coach Gill, you won't want to miss it. Coach Gill is just a great man. He's been around the coaching circles. Of course, he's a famed Nebraska quarterback as well, and he'll have a lot of wisdom for us as well. And then I got a couple ask out for the next Friday, but the next week, the first weekend of June, I'm calling my all-time week. We're going to have the all-time wins leader in high school history in the state of Kentucky, who's still coaching. He's got over 450 wins. Coach Philip Hayward will be on that call. And then that Wednesday, we'll have the all-time wins leader in the state of Illinois, Ken Leonard from Sacred Heart Griffin. And so I'm looking for one more all-time to make that week complete. But hopefully you guys can join us these next few calls and be encouraged and equipped. And really appreciate you being on the call. God bless you guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks,
God bless you all.
Thanks, Jed.
Thanks, Scotty.